In the game of Beyblade, the primary goal is to win. And just like any other game, you need to score points and get those points consistently across the board to do so. There are many ways to improve a player's consistency, whether it be launch technique, mindset, and knowledge, or even just sheer luck itself. However, the main factor of Beyblade is how you build your optimal Beyblade combos. With so many parts at your disposal though, what makes a good Beyblade combo? And how can you make the best Beyblade combo for yourself? The answers to these questions are not one note, and definitely not as easy as it may come across. Before we jump into it, make sure to hit that subscription button and hit the notification bell to get notified when we post more awesome videos just like this one here, and to get notified when I go live on YouTube or on Twitch with some epic Beyblade tournaments. And in these tournaments you'll get to see some of the combos I talk about here. So now, before I get ahead of myself, let's jump into what makes a good Beyblade combo. The first thing we must discuss is the type triangle, which, if you're not familiar with, includes attack, stamina, and defense. There's also the balance type, which fits somewhere in the middle here. There are a lot of Beyblades in Beyblade X that fit each type in the graph, but there are only certain Beyblades that perform the most consistently. These Beyblades are labeled as meta Beyblades. I've done multiple videos on each type of Beyblade, but in order to figure out which blades perform the best, we must isolate each type first. So let's first look at the most aggressive type of them all, the attack type. Arguably the type with the most blades at its disposal, but so many that it's so hard to choose one or even just two. But to make this more simple, let's look at two Beyblades in particular, Phoenix Wing and Dran's Sword. Nowadays, most would say Dran's Sword is outclassed in terms of attack blades, but it can still hold its own in the current meta quite well. The thing is, it has a lower consistency score than the second Beyblade mentioned, Phoenix Wing. This is due to the weight and sheer force it brings to the table. So why would you use Dran's Sword when you can just use Phoenix Wing and just win more often? Because obviously the more consistent a Beyblade is, the more wins you're gonna get, right? Well, of course, there's a certain level of skill that makes this possible as well, because players with higher skill levels could probably justify using Dran's Sword, but it gets harder to justify the lower down the list you get, which an attack type Beyblade at the bottom could be considered something like maybe Talentera or even Vipertel. It just performs so bad most of the time that a lot of players could be nerfing themselves by not using something of higher caliber. But if we move away from the attack type for a second and move on to the next type, the defense type, we can look at that bunch and see how things are going on there. Right here in the meta of defense, we have things like Nightmail and Golem Rock at the top, with Silverwolf and sometimes Wizard Rod being able to fit into that same category, depending on the combo. These Beyblades, again, perform much more consistently than other types like Leon Claw or even Leon Crest at times, even if it does have some merit to it, especially since Nightmail and Golem Rock can be preferred on attack type setups. The third category now, stamina types, acts a little differently than the previous two, where the two best stamina Beyblades gap the others by such a wide margin that running anything other than Silverwolf or Wizard Rod is suboptimal at best. Now, the question to be asked, if these Beyblades perform so well, how do the other parts matter? And in order to answer this, we must look at the other parts of a Beyblade combo. And first, we're gonna look at what controls the Beyblade's movement, the bit. For attack types, the best bits to run would most likely be rush, low rush, flat, low flat, level, and sometimes point. Attempting to run most other bits in Beyblade X is hard to justify because of the low consistency and high chance of losing more points in a battle than gaining them. Because then you just have to ask the question, why would you run something like Gear Flat, the arguably worst attack bit in the Beyblade X meta, over something that will hit just as hard or even harder and give you more time to do so, like low flat? If we jump over to stamina, it's pretty much agreed upon that the ball bit is the only way to run stamina though. Except for disc ball. Don't run disc ball. If we move over to defense though, it's in a kind of weird position. Under Needle is the best classified defense type currently, with Hexa being on a similar level despite being named as a balance type bit, which brings us back to the type that can be most forgotten about, balance, which, to be honest, balance type combos are just the Beyblades with the most variety right now. Not technically always based on its official naming scheme, some balance types take on attack bits or even stamina bits and act like a balance type would. One that could be considered a balance type would be like Wizard Rod on 360, 160 level, even though it can be considered an attack type. But now we gotta move on to the last category for Beyblade combos, ratchets, which can also function based on preference. They're a bit harder to narrow down because in the end, it's how you want your Beyblade to really perform. The most agreed upon ratchet types though are usually 60 height ratchets and some 70 height ratchets, with 960 and 160 being fan favorites due to their multiple functions, like popping out of the stadium pockets or resisting the burst mechanic, basically becoming much harder to burst. And these type of ratchets that have those functions will help in the long game because it'll prevent you from losing more points. So overall, what makes a Beyblade combo amazing is how consistently it performs in battle. Even though the community may preach certain combos are better than another, the best way to know yourself is to see what works for you and what doesn't. However, I would say that the community knowing what makes a more consistent Beyblade can help with decision making. Other than that though, there's a lot of preference involved. And also, one big thing about the community's involvement can also be seen at the Beyblade Awards, hosted at BeyCon, a new 3-day weekend convention that is all about Beyblade. There will be a bunch of tournaments, challenges, and casual play where you can see what each player truly brings to the table and get to see what combos they bring to the table as well. You'll be able to meet a bunch of your favorite Beyblade creators here and many well-known people from the community. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, make sure to get tickets through the link in the description below. There will also be a link to get a discount on hotels for your stay there as well. So this is definitely a hype opportunity that you guys should check out, and definitely let me know if you're gonna go, because maybe you'll get to see me there as well. But anyway, let's get back to the video and what makes some good Beyblade combos. So honestly, the way you gotta make the best Beyblade combo is just to look over your choices. Look how consistent others have been having with their Beyblades and maybe decide what is working for you, what's working for others. How can you counter other people's Beyblades? And how does it work for yourself? And also, do you even like the Beyblades you're using? Because in my opinion, that's also a #1 factor to how to make a good Beyblade combo. You gotta like what you're using. But before we end the video, I wanna recommend some awesome Beyblade combos that you should try out. And they're ones that perform pretty consistently in tournaments as well. So make sure to let me know in the comments what your favorite combo I recommend is and which ones you're gonna wanna try out for yourself. So let's get to it, because I'm excited to share these combos with you guys, because #1 is a bit of a doozy, and a lot of people probably already know what it is, which #1 is Silver Wolf on 960 Under Needle, or Low Orb, a typical defense and stamina type Beyblade. And I would recommend this because it's a tank. Oh my goodness, it's a tank. Moving on to #2, we got Phoenix Wing 360 Low Rush. Probably one of the best attack type Beyblades in the game. It can knock out stamina types and even defense types with a flick of the wrist. Moving on to #3, we got Wizard Rod 160 Low Rush, an attack type variant of Wizard Rod that gives a lot of Beyblades a hard time. Now moving on to #4, we got Cobalt Dragoon 760 Level, a straight up attack variant of Dragoon that doesn't rely on Elevate for the win. And something that might change with this combo is I honestly want to recommend the new bit coming out, Z or Zap. Cobalt Dragoon 760 Zap or Cobalt Dragoon 160 Zap could be a menace in the stadium. And now we have #5, Impact Drake 360 Rush, a stereotypical hard-hitting attack blade that will consistently nab you points. You just gotta be careful that you don't scrape, because once Impact Drake scrapes, I feel like it could be over. Moving on to #6, we got Tyrannobeat 970 Rush, an amazing attacker that consistently gets down smash to outspin and overfinish your opponent. Number 7, we got Nightmare, 160 under needle. A typical defense type Beyblade that runs low and deflects oncoming attacks. With number 8, we got another defense type, Golem Rock, 660 Hexa. Another classic defense type that parries off attack type hits. Now we're getting close to the end. Number 9, Silver Wolf, 760 level. Another Silver Wolf combo that can counter Dragoon on Elevate and hold its own against attack type Beyblades. And one that is just being diabolical in the Southern California meta. One of the main people using this is the number 2 Blader in Southern California, Beyblader Nick. Now we got the last one, number 10, Dran Brave, 360 or 760 low rush or rush. A great attack Beyblade that maximizes the loss of 1 point for 2 or 3 points gained, and the only CX Beyblade on this list. But that pretty much wraps up what I gotta say about Beyblade combos, and I hope you guys get to try these out because honestly they perform amazingly well. And a lot aren't stereotypical setups either. I feel like they're kind of unique in their own kind of way. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and definitely look forward to the next ones, especially since I'm gonna be uploading some awesome videos while I'm in Japan. You guys are gonna be in for a treat with that because I'm gonna do some Beyblade hunting, go to Beyblade tournaments, and film it all basically. But yeah guys, I hope this video helped you find out what a good Beyblade combo really means, and hopefully it maybe validated your feelings on your Beyblade combos. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the flip side, and make sure to keep on spinning.